Good afternoon to you viewers, this is the Colonel speaking to you live from the Grange for British Imperial YouTube Broadcasting. They've got a Decca record, K650, heard at Hogsnorton, numbers 1 and 2, The Truth About the BBC by Gillie Potter, and read by Gillie Potter as a humorous monologue. Now, many years ago, a girlfriend of mine had some of these Gillie Potter records and played them for me, and I didn't find them very funny, I'm afraid, and I had the ill grace to actually say that to her. It wasn't exactly the beginning of the end of the relationship, but it wasn't very good, really. I do wish I'd had the good grace to say they were amusing, even though I found them not at the time, because now I've played them, I've got quite a number of them from the Roger Thorne collection, and they're actually rather amusing. What a shame. Here we go, viewers.
Good evening, England. This is Gillie Potter speaking from Hogsnorton. Tonight I have to tell a wondering world the truth about the BBC. First then, what is the BBC? The BBC is an august body duly elected in September, which meets each year on April the 1st, and after a meat tea makes the thorough search of the cellars under the House of Lords, where the chairman asks whose keys, and the secretary replies Nelson keys, after which they wait to see whether Oxford or Cambridge wins, and then go home for another year or until the following Tuesday, according to the weather report and the state of their finances. Next, where is the BBC? The BBC is in London at a place called Savoy Inn, so named after that Duke of Savoy who was never really well. It is a large building entirely surrounded by alleys, which enable the officials to escape censure and the vaudeville artists to escape arrest. There are two ways in. The principal entrance is reminiscent of St. Mark's at Venice, without entirely losing sight of the signal box at Chipping Sodbury. Through this portico enter the brains and beauty of the BBC. Not only Lady Mary Mouthorgan, who screams across England trifles of her own composition like The Squirrel's Breakfast and My Love Lies Bloodshot, but also Professor Twifflebuttock, the authority on old waistcoats, who pesters the public periodically with some such stuff as how I avoid Sundays and why Zulus dislike asparagus. Round the corner from this splendid gateway, under an arch and up an alley, is another door, outside which stand 3 dustbins and 2 detectives. Need I say that by this door enter all the vaudeville artists? Let us return, however, to the Gate of Glory and await the arrival of the exalted. Ah, here comes Dr. Diapason, the musical magnate, followed by his man carrying a basket of quavers and a large bass clef. Liveried flunkies bow his eminence towards the under-official, who bows him to the over-official, who bows him to the horsehair and mother-of-pearl piano, at which the doctor sits down, plays the Spanish chant with one finger, horsey keep your tail up with the other, and then says, "Well done, Ashby-de-la-Zouch Primary School. That's a pretty tune, that was. I will now ask Mr. Goosepriest to whistle it for us." Whereupon a tall youth wearing alpaca boots and a martingale gives a short solo on the teeth, and the seance is over. An official then advances with a massive gold salver, on which reposes a cheque for 2,000 guineas. Snatching this, the doctor descends to the drawing-room, preceded by the mace-bearer, 2 girl guides, the chief announcer's godmother, and a turncock. The drawing-room, I may state, is the sanctum sanctorum of the BBC. No common play is permitted within its sacred precincts. Indeed, over the portal is a large printed notice which reads, "No vaudeville artists," to which some member of the board has appended in fair Standard 7 handwriting the happy afterthought, "Not on no account." Opening the diamond and ruby-studded doors, one enters a cosy chamber some 200 yards square, luxuriously furnished with an armchair with no arms, a sewing machine, 2 cuspidors, a pleasing print portraying the winning of the Northampton plate by Stewed Prune at Towcester in 1881, and a copy of last year's Board of Trade regulations for the importation of camels. 2 people, two distinguished personages, already occupy certain cubic space within this lordly hall. The taller one, with a head 2 sizes too big and an overcoat several sizes too small, is Colonel Dogscoffin, who has just treated the universe to his views on the present state of affairs in sciatica. The other worthy, with pink eyes and a bag of peanuts, is the Honourable Bertram Buttonhook, son and heir of Lord Elastic Sides. In 10 minutes he is due to deliver his daily discourse, today's dose being designated Fun with Fleas. It is all most interesting. That is the room and its contents, not the talk on sciatica, which was too painful, or the humours of insect life, which will be rather biting.
Right, on to side 2, viewers. That was most, well, sort of amusing in a sort of way. Especially about music hall people, which he called vaudeville for some reason.
The doctor's arrival in the drawing room is the signal for much hearty greeting, handshaking, and borrowing of tram fares. Servants then bear in costly viands on priceless trays, which, with no weeping but considerable gnashing of teeth, are disposed of, and the doctor produces a cigar from his left boot, which he breaks into 3 pieces, offering the ends to his friends, and keeping the centre with the band on for himself. But this luxury is overpowering. Let us descend to the basement, to the little door up the dark alleyway, and see what he's doing in vaudeville circles. The dustbins are still there, but the detectives have gone, which means that one turn will be missing from tonight's programme. Here come 3 poor wretches carrying brown paper parcels. The janitor, a stern ex-lifeboatman with a black beard and a fawn Homburg, demands their names. Each is then seized by a burly attendant and rushed upstairs and down lifts, and up lifts and downstairs, until they arrive at a door marked Cleansing Department. On entering, they are confronted by a marble-topped table at which sits a gentleman whose appearance suggests Borstal, but whose spelling marks him as an old Etonian. This is Mr. Cyril Carbolic, Censor-in-Chief to the Honourable the Board of the British Broadcasting Corporation, Savoy Hill, London, West Central. Please write clearly in block letters, no change given. This ref is for light articles only. 3/4 of an hour elapse, when suddenly Mr. Carbolic lifts from the table a cottage loaf which he has been using as a paperweight, takes the silver pen from between his gold teeth and shouts, "Listen, comics, cut out all reference to China, cheese mites and Winston Churchill." Attendants then rush the wretches to the housekeeper, who washes their necks, combs their hair, and arrays each of them in a blue overall, bearing in front in large letters the words, "Stolen from the BBC." The vaudeville artists are then manacled and led to the microphone. Their pitiable efforts to entertain being over, each receives a white card entitling him to his fee or a good meal, whichever is preferred. Many choose the meal, though some take the ninepence. The card system has been found necessary as a means of identification, for in July last, one vaudeville artist, whose mission was to make a noise like a guillotine, basically deserted his post before the end of the Revolution, and descending to the Treasury to demand his fee, on being asked who he was, replied, "Christopher Stone," and was given 12 and 6pence. If we return with the vaudeville artists, by the way, to the little door, we shall be in time to see the cattle being driven in to be valued by the announcer who gives us the fat stock prices at tea time. Throughout the building, large arrows direct one to the bar, and the fact that these arrows point in every direction makes them nonetheless useful, for the BBC building is ideal in that all roads lead to the bar. The bar is a spacious room, half a mile or more long, but not any too large for its purpose, as it is invariably crowded. Indeed, the quickest and surest way of interviewing anyone at the BBC is to go straight to the bar. Rows of bottles containing costly liquors are marked for announcers only, while at one end is a large churn of milk labelled "Reserved for Henry Hall and his band." And it is a moving sight to see the tired trombone or the exhausted euphonium gazing enviously at the announcer's alcohol, but nobly demanding a double Alderney with a dash of Jersey. At the end of the bar is a small black hole of Calcutta-like chamber with sawdust on the floor, illuminated by means of a candle stuck in a flower pot. Need I state that this is marked "Reserved for vaudeville artists." Good night.
Well, and what you thought of that, viewers? How extraordinary. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you and goodbye.